Hello. So, I've been busy, I think is one way you could put this. So, throughout yesterday and overnight, I kept an eye on the simulator and kept dipping back into it because I got the week off work, basically, so I had the chance to do it. And I earned enough money doing normal Cessna cargo flights in the career mode of Flight Simulator 2024 to go and purchase a second-hand Caravan. So it cost 2.1 million credits. I then had to spend, and I was able to fly it immediately, but it was in a very poor condition, so controlling it was difficult. The engine tried to fail on me several times. Landing it was difficult. So the wear and tear does have an effect on how easy the aircraft is to fly. I'm doing this freelance, so just to look at the questions there in the live stream. So I started out with the Cessna. As soon as I was able to do freelance missions, I did. And I worked my way up doing long freelance or whatever I could do. And if you don't skip, then you can potentially quadruple your earnings from the book price. So you can see I've assigned myself a mission here with a really long mission with the Caravan, and the book price is 532. I have no doubts we will probably get well over 1 million, maybe 1.5 million out of the mission, depending on the weather, and if we do all of it ourselves, and if we don't make any mistakes, so if we don't smash the airplane up. So the only risk of that happening is if we hit bad weather and we're on autopilot and it overstresses, or the flaps get, or not the flaps, but if the aircraft overspeeds in high winds. So the book price for the Grand Caravan, for the second-hand Grand Caravan, was 2.1 million. I then spent the best part of 2 million repairing it. So I was flying it, and then after each mission repairing it. I have had the sim crash twice during long missions, and it just said unexpected error or something, and just took me straight out of the mission back to the hangar. It didn't actually crash the sim. So yeah, my Caravan it's been cleaned. It's got a new engine. It's got a new undercarriage. It's got the airframe's been overhauled. All of the flight controls and the electronics have all been replaced. So it's essentially a brand new Caravan. So it should operate reliably. Famous last words. So let's go and get on with our flight, shall we? So rather than skip anything, I thought we might work through doing everything by hand, on purpose. I have no idea where we are, by the way. So it might be worth opening a little nav map in the background just to sketch out the route, so we can go look at it from time to time and get some idea of where we are. So if I go new flight plan and remove the previous one and turn off head tracking. Okay, so we'll do everything. So it will give us no excuse to not give us full marks for everything. Okay, so we can go and get in the aeroplane.
Good morning. So today we're flying to Cessna with general freight. Everything's secure at the back. Nothing's moving. It's going to be smooth and easy.
Famous last words. So let's go and have a look. EGSJ. So we'll do a search in Little Nav Map for EGSJ. So we're taking off from Seething, wherever that is, near Norwich. And we're going to LJAJ. Set that as the destination. So you can see it's a very long trip. So that's just the point to point. It doesn't actually reflect what we are really doing. So what we could do, if we have a mind to do it, is come into here and go flight plan route description, and we'll just say OK, and we'll get rid of that. So we could say EGSJ SOMVA SOML MHV WYP. This will have a secondary use in a moment. VFM Texi Gesak Kia Incel, and then the final way. The destination was LJAJ, wasn't it? So if we create that and close, that gives us the plan on the map. If we zoom back in, there it is. There's our route across Europe. So it's a fairly long flight. The other thing we're going to do, though, is go and open a browser and go to planner.flightsimulator.com. That's interesting. Why won't it Control-Alt-B, Control-Shift-B? Oh, there we go. This has been updated overnight. So I read, facility, add button to the facility page to focus the map on the selected facility. Options, add an option to change the coordinate format used in the map. Map context, route string parsing. So it's got better at doing parsing. Route improved interactions with the high-level waypoints. I wonder if they fixed the appearance, although I've not updated the sim. So this has been updated overnight, but obviously I wonder if the sim will get updated today then. So anyway, we're going to go into type of aircraft, C208. Ooh, is it not there? 208B, okay. And then route, and we're going to paste what we got from little nav map, or we would if we copied it. Flight plan, copy flight plan, copy it to the clipboard, paste it in here, get rid of that bit, save. So that's put the same route in here. The reason I'm doing this is I want to see if we need to, yeah, so we've got prohibited airspaces being shown, restricted airspaces. So we're going to zoom in and see if we can see any of them. So they should be red. Is that one of them? No, that's just a Class E. Let me change the map. We just want IFR low, don't we? Although this is supposed to be showing us. Have we got? What on earth have they done to this? Why is it showing me the VFR map? There's the VFR map. That's better. So I'm looking for restricted airspaces. Is that one? I just want to see what they look like. Yeah, restricted. Look, they're red. So I'm just going to look through the route. See, that looks like restricted airspace around that area. And our route goes straight through it. And we'll get a penalty for that. So the route you are given is kind of, you know, an idea for a route. It's not something you have to use. So we could program our way around this. We could go over to Zerum and Obica and avoid that area. Yeah. But I'll just take the hit and let it fly it so you can see it happen. But if you want to absolutely max out, we're going to do it again there, look. We're going to cross through the corner of a restricted area. Oh no, it's just Class C, or is it? No, there it is, Zeta, restricted. Yeah. So as the moment we go into that airspace, there's another one here, look. If you right click on this, oh no, it's not. It's sometimes different to see the difference in the colours. They could have made these lines a bit thicker, to be honest. So Wilkins is saying, is it me or is the Grand Caravan ultra sensitive in regards to flight control? No, it's just the Grand Caravan. So I'm just looking at this to point out to people, we are going to go through a couple of restricted areas. So the advantage of looking at this on planner.flightsimulator.com is you're going to see it as the simulator sees it. So this is obviously the simulator's navigation data. It's the same data source. But we'll leave it as it is for the moment, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so we've got the route is already in the EFB, so it should be in the airplane as well. So we're going to go and get the airplane up and running, and we're going to do it by hand. You can cut this, and it will only affect your reputation. It won't affect the money. So we're going to go and put the batteries on, and we're going to go and look overhead, and the fuel shut-off valves are already open or on. We leave the fuel condition lever back. We put the propeller speed all the way forwards. I've been playing with the throttle. I'm still not entirely happy with how it behaves, but I imagine it's going to get updated because it doesn't seem right at the moment. So to get this thing up and running, we go and hit the starter. We can go and put avionics bus 1 on as well, by the way, and that will at least give us the numbers for the engine coming up. So as soon as it comes through about 12, you can
sensitive cargo
introduce
containers
fuel,
are designed
and it
to
will carry on
withstand
through. When it
turbulence,
gets to
but
50,
it's crucial that you keep a
50,
steady flight speed and adjust to changing conditions. Let's get the cargo there secure and on time.
when it comes through 50%, we can turn the starter off. We should have had the beacon light on, by the way, but it doesn't test for this. It doesn't test for procedures with lights. So we come through 50%, starter can come off, we can reset the generator, and we can turn on the secondary circuit for the avionics, and the airplane's essentially up and running. So if you look on here, you will see the route is already in here. That's because I've just taken the route that was given to us. I've not altered it at all. But you will see on here, as we're flying along, you'll see those restricted areas. So we could, if we have a mind to, just go to heading mode while we're flying without changing the route and just fly around them to avoid getting hit by the performance issue. Okay, so engine's up and running. I did refuel the aeroplane before we got in it, so you can see here, absolutely full tanks, and we're going to need it. It's a hell of a long flight. But I'll show you there's a cheat. You can refuel the tanks in midair, and it won't actually affect your performance too much, or it might be only be... I'm not sure if it builds you for it or not. I don't think it does. So we do need to go and calibrate the altimeter for local barometric pressure. We need to change the CDI mode to GPS, so it's going to reflect the route on the navigation system. We could put this back on map mode, put the nav lights on, put the taxi lights on, put the no smoking and the seatbelt signs on, put the stall heaters on, although we don't really need that, but we'll see. It's interesting that I don't think it's got a specific pitot heat in this version that they've given us. It's an interesting one, isn't it? There's various bits that you would imagine should be there that are not. So you've got bleed air over there. I don't think it's got an internal temperature gauge either. You've got outside air here. Okay, so if we go and announce taxi now.
Echo Golf Sierra Juliet traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is taxiing to runway 24.
So we just need to taxi down to here. So what we're going to do now is press... I've mapped this to Control-Alt-V. We can get rid of the visual hints, because the boxes that appear in the sky are totally a guide. You don't actually need to use them at all. But we are going to put flaps to takeoff position. And we're going to taxi out to the hold short position. So remember, the throttle's only in low idle at the moment. We'll take care of that when we get to the runway. Also, not the throttle, the fuel control. I love how it leaves skid marks everywhere. So, we announce takeoff.
Echo Golf Sierra Juliet traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu taking off runway 2 for departure to the east.
So we're just announcing we haven't actually got a controlled airfield. There's no tower by the look of it. So we're just announcing we don't have a conversation with the tower going on. So we just pull out, we don't wait. I bet we'll do all of this and the sim will go wrong probably. So we just put onto the runway. Okay, so we've already got the lights on. Fuel goes to, the fuel condition lever goes to high idle. So you'll see the numbers are coming up. Actually, before we get going, something else is just a good practice, something to show you. So on the autopilot, so this is kind of like the G1000, but instead of having the buttons to control it down the sides, it's across this top panel. It's like a mode control panel. So we're going to go and click the heading bug to align it the direction we're going. And we're going to press heading mode to preset heading mode on the autopilot. We're also going to go and press vertical speed and set it to about 500-600 feet a minute. So then when we engage autopilot, it will already be doing roughly the right thing. Okay, off the brakes, hold the toe brakes, spin the engine up. So keep an eye on the torque to see what we can get away with. And go. We've got a hell of a wind in our face. Got a 20-something knots headwind.
V1, rotate.
Gently rotate, not too steep. See? I'm going to push it on a bit. Press enter to trigger the next
approach Cessna Foxtrot.
The next step.
Golf India Alpha Zulu is type Cessna Caravan 1 mile southwest of Echo Golf, Sierra Juliet, 400 feet. Request flight following.
Cessna Foxtrot, Golf India Alpha Zulu Norwich approach. Squawk 4612.
Okay, I've pressed autopilot and it's it's throwing itself all over the place, look. So we acknowledge the squawk and you should see it change. If it doesn't, we can program it ourselves.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu radar contact 2 miles southwest of Echo Golf Sierra Juliet 900 feet QNH 1001.
Okay, so it's asking us to climb to 29,000 feet. We don't want to do that because this airplane can't really do that. This is a bit of a fault. So we'll acknowledge radar
Roger,
contact.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu. Norwich approach Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha, Zulu 3 miles southwest of Echo Golf, Sierra Juliet 1,400 foot, request IFR to Lima Juliet Alpha Juliet, ready to copy.
Cessna Foxtrot, Golf India Alpha Zulu is cleared to Lima Juliet Alpha Juliet Airport as filed. Squawk 4612.
Yeah, we've already done that.
Cessna Foxtrot.
It's a bit buggy, but it does work. You're best off having the communication panel open all the time.
Squawk 4612.
What we're waiting for...
Cessna India Alpha Zulu readback correct. Radar contact 1,800 feet QNH 100.
Yeah, we're just turning to 100, look.
Left heading 100, proceed on course climb and maintain FL 290.
Flight level 290 is 29,000 feet, so we can acknowledge. Now, what we're going to do, now we've got IFR with flight following, we're going to request a decrease in altitude.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu contact London Center on 118 475. Good day.
So we'll have to ask the next controller.
475 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
So if you watch, the comm radio will change. So there we go. Switch frequencies and contact London Center. It does a lot of it for you.
London Center Cessna Foxtrot, Golf India Alpha Zulu, is passing 2,300 feet, climbing FL 290. Cessna Foxtrot, Golf India Alpha.
It's a shame it doesn't have different accents, isn't it?
100, radar contact, continue.
So, request altitude decrease, because we are not going to go to the altitude they want.
London Center Cessna India Alpha Zulu, request FL 190.
We'll go to like 12,000 feet or something.
Climb and maintain FL 190.
So acknowledge.
Climb and maintain FL 190 Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
And we'll ask for a lower altitude again. So we want to take another 7 off of that, don't we?
London
If
Center,
we're going to fly at
Cessna
12,000 feet.
India Alpha Zulu, request 12,000 feet. Cessna India Alpha Zulu, climb and maintain 12,000 feet.
Acknowledge.
Climb and maintain 12,000 foot Cessna
So,
India Alpha Zulu.
now we'll go and set our altitude in the aeroplane. So I'll turn off the head tracking. And we can just go altitude. Set the target for 12,000. And vertical speed, we could use flight level change together as well. We'll just go at 500 feet. Well, they'll probably complain if we don't do it expeditiously. I'm just keeping an eye on this temperature and this needle. See it lit up there? It went yellow on the temperature. We're right up against the limits, but we're inclined, so we're holding a good speed. So, rather than sit here for hours now, we can press Alt, R and plus. That's what I've mapped. And I've got a little program running in the background that's calling out the sim rates, so we know what sim rate we're at.
Sim rate 4.
So we're still in heading mode, remember. So we may as well go nav mode. So where is nav mode? There it is. So remember, we're on GPS mode, so it will sway around because we've got it accelerated. It's rubbish at it. But we've got a crosswind going on. Look, there's a 60 knot tailwind. We are going to whistle along. We just need to be careful though. If the wind changes, we could find ourselves in trouble. So we're going to take some of that climb rate out as we get higher, because the aircraft won't, as the air gets thinner, it won't be able to handle the climb. And once we get to cruise, we can pull the engine back a little bit and save some fuel. Do they provide oxygen? I think it's, well, this is an Asobo aeroplane, so it's dumbed down a little bit. So I don't think it gives you actual control over the oxygen system, whereas some of the other ones do. You know, things like the Black Square aircraft allow you to pressurise the cabin. You've got oxygen up there, look, so you can you can turn it on. So we'll see how long it lasts. So is the gauge going to start moving? Maybe it comes on automatically. We'll see once we get to higher altitudes, but you'd imagine it would come in at about 8,000 feet. So we'll get interrupted by sector changes. Notice they haven't called us out for, although we haven't got to 12,000 feet yet, but when we get there, let's see what happens. I've noticed it's really spotty about going to standard barometric pressure, which we should have done at 6,000 feet in the UK.
Sim rate 2. Sim rate 1.
175. Good day. Go to 119er. 175 Cessna, India, Alpha Zulu.
So when it prompts you to press enter on the mission steps, that really does both of the communication steps for you.
Amsterdam Center Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu is passing 10,000 feet, climbing 12,000 feet. Cessna Foxtrot. Gulf India Alpha Zulu Amsterdam Center QNH 1005 radar contact. Continue to summon.
This is bizarre though, because we are already, I mean, we can change our frequency, but even I think over much of Holland, I think it might be 10,000 feet, so we're already above the transition altitude, but we'll just carry on with what it gives us. It will only really affect it once we're at cruise. I think what they might have done is simplified it and just got 18,000 feet across the world. Well, that's what I suspect is going on. So let's speed it back up again.
Sim rate 2. Sim rate 4. Sim rate 8.
So we're counting down the miles to get to the next waypoint, basically. And just using the onboard navigation. So rather than having any of the visual assists in the sim, we could just use the onboard systems. They're just as good.
Sim rate 4. Sim rate 2.
I'm just going to let
Sim
the
rate
aeroplane
1.
stabilize. We've just got to cruise altitude. And it will bounce around like a, I don't know, like it has springs on it if you don't let it stabilize before you accelerate time. So we'll just give it a moment to calm down.
Sim rate 2. Sim rate 4.
Depending on the weather conditions though, if it does get an oscillation going, it just won't give up.
Sim rate 8.
And you can see it doing it now, look. The nose is bobbing up and down gently. I've seen some wicked bobbing, but you can let it get on with it usually. It's entirely dependent on the weather, really. So we've got a 50 knot tailwind. I'm just looking down here, look. This is the huge advantage of flying at altitude. Should we push on the power a little bit? No, that's going to overdo the temperatures. So you are going to end up having to service the engine if you push it too high. So I'm pushing it back again. See, it's got this wobble going. We've got the yaw damper on. I wonder...
Simrate 4.
We're 15 miles from the next turn, so we'll slow down at the turn anyway. Although they're gentle turns, aren't they? Are we anywhere near the sectors? If we zoom in, you'll see some of these restricted sectors might turn up. So if you remember looking on here, so there's the one that we're about to cross over. So we might not see anything too nasty until we get way down this way. So there were some red ones there. So on the approach to Texie, we should see something worth looking at. What rate are we running at? 4 times.
Simrate 8.
So yeah, I'm doing this more or less as a demonstration flight for those that have not done the big long flights with the Caravan, just to show them what's going on. We don't need the landing lights on, but again, it's not going to test us on this. Once you get above 10,000 feet, if you're commercial traffic, you can turn the landing lights off. Well, it's the other way around. Commercial traffic should have landing lights on up to 10,000 feet above sea level. I'm not sure how the variations on that work at high altitude locations. Look at it wobbling.
Simrate 4.
Should we let it stabilise? If we didn't have... It's entirely dependent on the weather conditions with it wobbling when it's accelerated.
Simrate 8.
So we're 66 miles on to the next waypoint. We haven't changed sectors, have we, on the... You think we might have gone to Paris already? I wonder where the cut-off line is, where they hand over to Paris. Here we go, look, it's nodding up and down. So but if you just keep an eye on the altitude, as long as you don't get too far away, it won't impact you. You know, you won't get ATC complaining at you for not flying the altitude you should be at.
Simrate 4.
Let's let it calm down. Maybe we run it at Simrate 4, seeing as it's a lot happier at Simrate 4, at least on this machine. So if we go and have a look, we're just coming down and we're going to head down to Slovenia. So as I mentioned earlier, if you don't run the engine within limits, if you just run flat out, you'll blow the engine. So you'll get an engine failure during your flight. You need to be careful that I'm running this a bit, the temperature's a bit high. So I'm just edging it back away. There's a marker there, which is probably the advised marker of the speed I should be running it at. I think 1900 is kind of the book number to aim for with the torque. But it's quite a complicated relationship in turboprops between torque, RPM and temperature, and the power input you're putting in to achieve those given the barometric pressure and the weather conditions, the temperature. It's a very complicated formula. So it looks like they're up against the stops, but they're not.
Cessna India Alpha, Zulu contact Langen Center.
Sim rate 2.
1118.
Sim rate 1.
Good day. 118. 75 for Cessna India Alpha Zulu. Langen Center Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu 12,000 feet. Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu Langen Center. QNH 10, one tree radar contact. Continue to Whiskey Yankee Papa.
Okay, so we don't have to say anything else. They've given us the METAR information for the barometric pressure. I think this is wrong because we're way above the transition altitude. It should just be standard all the way. That's half the attraction of getting above the transition altitude. You don't have to keep changing it. So just reading live stream comments, sorry I haven't been keeping up with it. So yeah, Pat was asking, I'm using my own flight plan in Korea. You are given a flight plan, you are free to change it. You don't have to follow the plan they give you. But then at takeoff you'll be instructed an altitude to fly at that's not of your own design. But more or less you can choose your route and then you can file it with ATC via the communication dialogue. I think you can do it in the tablet as well, so you can plan your flight out in the tablet and then in here, yeah, you can file the plan with ATC, so then they will know what you're doing before you get started. And you can do that in the hangar even before you take the aeroplane out. But just for a bit of interest today, I'm looking on this map for the restricted areas. So was this oval area? No, I think they're like purple when you see them on the G1000 screens. So we'll be able to see that if we turn sectors on in little nav map. Although it's not always the same. Yeah, you can see this is actually quite a lot different. So that's where this comes into its own. So there's the area we were just looking at. If we right click on it, it's a class E, it's called JoJo apparently. From 27,000 feet to 30,000 feet. But yeah, the one we were worried about was down here. There's a load of red boxes. There's another load over there, look. It's over the top of a big airport, look. What this one is, I don't know. Oh, there's an airport in the restricted area, but I wonder what's in the middle of it. Probably find out it's an important building of some description. Okay, we can speed this back up.
Sim rate 2. Sim rate 4.
So we're changing direction. 30 miles until the next waypoint. So we're on our way to WYP. So we're up here. It's a shame that at the moment this website doesn't have any way of knowing where we are. I wonder if they'll make a browser extension or something for it that will allow it to pick it up, because it's got the aeroplane arrow. But I think the reason is this is really the tablet. it is this. Yeah, so it looks similar for a purpose. If we made this smaller, I bet it looks exactly like the one in the airplane. It'll probably be responsive design. Or not. That's interesting. So that it's not quite the same, is it? It's almost the same. Anyway. The nice thing about this though is it does have the, or in the aeroplane at least, there's a bug at the moment. The one that appears in the simulator doesn't have the sectors drawn on it, even though it has an option for the layer, so you can show the airspaces, for example, but they don't appear, which is a bit of a shame, because then we wouldn't have to be cross-referencing it against the view in the G1000 that does have the airspaces and the sectors. So we're just approaching WYP. So basically I'm just keeping an ear out for ATC and turning the sim rate down whenever we hear them and then following their instructions. But the real tip is you don't have to fly at the altitude they initially give you. You can change it. You can request a different altitude, because they'll quite often give you an altitude that's not possible. This is terrible, isn't it? When it's speeded up, it's not very good at turning corners.
Simrate 2.
Okay, so someone's
Simrate
saying
1.
that they can see the sectors in here. But you're saying you had to show a detailed view. When you say detailed, what do you mean by that? So if I go to terrain map, and I go to layers and navigation, airspaces is on and it's not showing anything. So if I go just cycle it, I'm only seeing waypoints, I'm not seeing airspaces. What I would be expecting to see is something more like this. So, okay, let's go and change it to satellite mode. Nope. Maybe it's something I've broken. Or maybe it just doesn't work in career mode for some reason, but it works in free flight mode. I haven't tried it, to be honest. Anyway, we don't need to worry because the G1000's got a nice view of everything.
Simrate 2.
It's one of those unexplainable
Simrate
bugs.
4.
How are we doing for temperatures? -6 outside. Chilly. So let's put the stall heaters on just in case, because we are touching the clouds now and again. So there's moisture in those clouds and it will adhere to the aeroplane. Looks funny sped up, doesn't it?
India Alpha Zulu Contact Center.
Simrate 2.
1276.
Simrate 1.
Good day. 127. Cessna India Alpha Zulu. Center Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu, 12,000 feet. Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu Center QNH 1016 radar contact. Continue to Victor Foxtrot Mike.
Okay, we're being controlled from Frankfurt now. Interesting. Look at those clouds. Great, aren't they? So these little marks weren't here when we took off, and over time it will get worse and worse. So we'll get all kinds of muck on the aeroplane. If we go and look closely along the wing routes, yeah, you can see there's some marks already. And it will get worse. There's some marks on the leading edge there, look. The Cessna that I've got it looks like it's been in a barn for a year, covered in mould. It's a real mess, and I haven't cleaned it yet. Okay.
Simrate 2.
So let's speed ourselves back up again.
Simrate 4.
I've already turned the pitot heat on. Just looking at the comments there. Yeah, it's over here. Look. Yeah, I knew where it was. It's just whether you needed it or not. You'll soon know because the indicated airspeed will be frozen in time. Look at that cloud that just spawned out of nowhere. The weather updated as we approached those clouds, didn't it? Magic spawning clouds. So we could go for Simrate 8, but it's not too far. We're only 38 miles from the next waypoint. So something we could check along the way is we are not quite going to be high enough. Look, when we get to the mountains, we're going to have to climb. So we'll request a higher. Oh no, we're already at higher altitude. Sorry. 12,000 feet. Yeah, we'll be fine. Look, all the way in. So we just need to manage our descent to get into the destination. So we could spend some time having a look at that. So there's a steep. What's the weather doing at the far end? We can predict what runway we're going to get. 330 degrees, 1 knot. So they're probably following the lunacy of flight sim. Will put us into runway 19. So what we could do is do left pattern. Hopefully they'll give us left pattern. I bet they cancel IFR when we get near. And we'll just do a box pattern to come in for runway 19 as we descend inside the valley. Because yeah, there's a couple of miles, look there, room to turn in. You can get little nav map to draw it in for you. So if you right click on an airport, you can add the traffic pattern. So we could say we want runway 19. Oh, it's gone and moved to dialogue as now. I forgot to do that. Let's come back down here again. Turn that off. So if I go and right click and add the traffic pattern, we want runway 19, turning left. Downwind to runway 1 mile is fine. Pattern altitude 1,000 feet and go wallop. And it will draw in a typical pattern with the entry and exit points. It's good, isn't it? So it gives you some sort of visual guidance as to what to expect. So you could look for some visual, so the edge of town basically. And then yeah, where the roads cross, look, can be your visual reference point that way. It's useful. So does cleanliness affect the mission score? Nope. Neither does the the operation of the lights has nothing to do with it either. They seem to care about you just going through the routine. They care about you missing radio calls. So if they ever need to call you back and say please acknowledge a second time, that will get picked up. If you overspeed, that will get picked up. So if you overspeed the flaps or the airframe, it will get picked up. But it won't affect the money. It may do though in terms of your airframe, so I can't confirm if you overstress the flaps, if that's going to end up being picked up in your next service of the aeroplane. That, you know, you'll have to do some work on the airframe. Okay, so we got a 90-mile trip down to Texie. So Texie was where those sectors were, wasn't it? Should we have a quick look? Yes. Well, I'll fly through them so you see it happen. And you'll see it then. It will affect my reputation. So in terms of your score for performance, like where you get B, C, B, A or S, I think it will affect that. But it may not affect, or it won't affect the money. So, being correct about it, I should have, when we came into the flight, should have modified the plan and filed the change with air traffic control. Although saying that, this is sector, so we've got some red sectors here. If we right click on them, restricted 38,000 to 66,000 feet. So okay, so in 21, so we might fly under it actually. Let's see what the others are. There's several stacked here, isn't there? So if we go inside each one, 38, 40 to 66. We might be okay actually. We might be going underneath it. After all of that, and worrying about it. Oh no. There's another layer there, look. 500 foot up to 6,500. Oh yeah, but okay. We're in between. But saying that, it's very difficult to make out here which one's on top of which and where it is. So if we go and right click in the middle of our route here, and it's only showing us the one airspace there, which is interesting. So are these like narrow corridors that are only for use by the military or something? They're not actually, yeah, they are, look. They're corridors. How strange. And they're at specific altitudes. I wonder what they're used for. We're about to find out anyway. See if our suspicion is correct, that we'll be in between them. So if we increase the range on this, yeah, they're not appearing here, look. How odd. So we were worrying about nothing. So they appear on one navigation system but not on the other. Oh no, they've started drawing. Maybe it just doesn't draw at the fringes of the display until it has to. So yeah, when we cross these lines, let's see what happens. I think you'll find that they're above and below us. They're not at the altitude we're at. I'm hoping that. So we're chugging along, we're 35 miles from Texie now. So we're about to find out what's going to happen to us. We've looked on the map at these sectors, and yes, they're red, but it's a shame they're not red on the G1000. But if you look in here, they're not at altitudes we're at. So that one, I think we're going to be okay. This is famous last words, isn't it? As we cross over that line, it's going to go ding. We're just coming over that one, aren't we? 3.8. No, that's a high altitude. Yeah, it hasn't lit up. It would have told us. Isn't it a shame that these displays don't have a way of only show sectors that are valid for the altitude we're at? So Cameron's saying, will ATC not warn you? Apparently not, or not yet, not in this version of the sim. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I imagine most people are going to think about the box over Homey, as it's called, or Groom Lake. There's the box you're not allowed to enter, isn't it? And as you approach it, you get told to turn away from it. Or pilots do. Famously. So here we go, look. Is it going to light up? It shouldn't. Based on what we've been able to discover. No, it's not going to. It hasn't told us off. If we went through those boxes at the altitudes that they are restricted, that's a different story. What about
Cessna India Alpha Zulu contact
Simrate 2.
center on 120.
Simrate 1.
65. 120. 65 for Cessna India Alpha Zulu. Munich
So,
Center Cessna Foxtrot.
the
Golf
other thing
India Alpha
I'm
Zulu
interested in here
12,000
then
feet.
is this one. Yeah, it's above us.
Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu Munich Center QNH 1021 radar contact continue to Jessic.
This is annoying that it doesn't scroll to the bottom as boxes or as messages appearing in it. I'm having to keep scrolling down all the time. So, in real life, well, there was nothing to warn here. This was my misinterpretation of the chart. I was just looking for restricted areas. I hadn't actually checked the altitudes, but I have had the sim put me through restricted areas before. I did a cargo route last night while I was burning through trying to get the money up to buy the Caravan, and it took off in South Korea and landed in North Korea. So you imagine how that went, because there's a huge no-fly zone, and I went right through it. So my reputation took an enormous nosedive, but I just followed the route. Just reading the comments, wouldn't it be great if you did get a fighter jet come up on your wingtip? That day's not going to end well, is it, if that happens?
Simrate 2. Simrate 4.
So we're just coming through Texie. So we just got this run in now down towards the destination. We're at the wrong barometric pressure, so I'm just going to fix that. So we were about 1,500 feet away from where we should have been. I'm amazed they haven't picked it up, to be honest. Maybe there's a 2,000 feet limit on that of when they ping you for it, and you would get a reputation hit for being at the wrong altitude. Or, you know, significantly the wrong altitude. But again, this is the area that I don't particularly like, because in Europe, you'd think with Asoba being a French team, maybe they just haven't finished implementing it yet, that they would be telling you to go to standard barometric pressure based on the local transition level. You can request vectors in 2024 as well, just reading the comments there. So you can see here, look, request vector to the next waypoint if you're on an IFR plan. Otherwise, you can just call the nearest airport. You can do that via most of the GPS systems. You can pull up the nearest airport list. How are we doing for fuel? Just gone beneath 50%. Are we more than 50% of the way, do we think? Yeah, easily. We're going to just about do it, I reckon, with some fuel to spare. Go and look in here. So on this long run down to Urkia. So yeah, this is the Alps, isn't it? So we'll be crossing over into Austria and then Italy. So we'll get a lot of changes. It might get quite comical here, where we'll go from Italian airspace, Ljubljana, what country? Yeah, Slovenia. I was going to say Slovenia and I wasn't quite sure. I thought I'm going to zoom out and make sure before I make a fool of myself. So we'll get a lot of airspace changes, handing over backwards and forwards. It's a bit silly in that regard. I suppose in the real world you would stay in one, or cross out. You would choose your route to avoid changing airspaces too often. Otherwise you're saying hello and goodbye 4 or 5 times. It'd be interesting to see how that works in the real world. If you're flying along a border, or across, like this is a good example, where officially you're going to be leaving Austria and joining, or is that Austria up here? Yeah. Leaving Austria, over Italy, over Slovenia, back over Italy, over Slovenia. It's a bit mad, isn't it? Oh, thank you, Martin. I've just seen the supporter. So I've got a new supporter on the channel. Fantastic. So yes, somebody told me about this FS Simrate yesterday. You can find it at GitHub. If you just search for it in Google, it will come up with the GitHub page. And if you look on the releases on the right-hand margin, you can download it. They've basically made a Sim Connect client where you can command it to go to a different sim rate, or it listens to what's in the sim, but also you can command it in here. So it calls it out audibly, which is fantastic. So I've got some key combinations set up in the simulator to increase or decrease my sim rate, and it tells you when you're back at sim rate 1. Yeah, so just reading the story there about the 172 over the Southern Alps in New Zealand. If you're accelerated in the sim, or if the sim updates the weather suddenly on you, it can cause havoc. So this little flight plan program is a freebie off the internet. It's called Little Nav Map. You'll have problems with it at the moment because it can't read the scenery database of 2024. If you have also got 2020 installed, you can get around it, so it can use 2020's scenery database, because 2024 doesn't have a scenery database anymore that's on the disk. It's pulled down from the cloud. So the way this knows where, about everything in the world is by having that database. It may be that people are sharing the database online now, and you may be able to, rig it to make it work. But the other one, apart from this, is if you go to planner.flightsimulator.com, it's got its own planner built in now. And this will reflect what you see in the aeroplane. So having planned your route out, if you go to route in here, you can copy and paste that, I guess. Or program it. It will be a good education in programming. There is a way, I did play with this when it first came out. There is a way of saving and loading these routes, and I can't remember how it works. It's these create new, yeah, save flight plan. So if we save this, then they become available to load in the EFB. So you can do everything in the planner, save it, and then go in the EFB and load it. I can't remember where it is in the EFB to load it. It must be in here somewhere. Load flight plan, there's the button. Obviously it only works on the ground. So we just done handoff.
124 for Cessna India Alpha Zulu.
Simrate 2. Simrate 1.
Vienna Center Cessna Foxtrot, Golf India Alpha Zulu 12,000 feet. Cessna Foxtrot, Golf India Alpha Zulu Vienna Center, QNH 1024 radar contact. Continue to insult.
So we've just changed our barometric pressure, so the airplane's heading back towards 12,000 feet, and we just carry on. So next waypoint is Insult, which is, oh, we've not quite got to Kia yet. We're 2.9 miles away. We get an ETE as well. Obviously that means nothing though once you start accelerating it. So if we go Alt
Simrate 2.
and speed it up.
Simrate 4.
So you can assign whatever keys you want. I've just got Alt R plus and minus, which are the default ones. So yeah, little nav map. Well, this is where it gets complicated. You're saying about speed restrictions and stuff like that. If we were to do an IFR flight plan in little nav map, it will show you the airways, the restrictions, and so on and so forth. And it can even calculate routes. So if we had ignored the route that this had gave us, so I'll just save this for a moment. Save flight plan. Save. And we'll delete everything out of this route, and we could say to little nav map, can you make us a route up flying at 12,000 feet using any airways, calculate, and it will do a much more realistic flight plan using airways. Look, and it's done it very differently than Flight Simulator would have, but it's actually using airways rather than just randomly picking out waypoints. So we could have done that. Same as you could do the same thing with SimBrief, by the way. So if you wanted a real flight plan instead of the one Flight Simulator gives you, or a more real flight plan, you could go to SimBrief, which is free. You could go to the dispatch system, create a new flight, make up an airline and a flight number, give it the bounding part of your flight, so EGSJ for example, to LJAJ, and then just tell it the aeroplane type. There's Cessna 208, isn't it? Cessna 208B, there we go. So that will work out your operational flight plan for the route. And there we go. And then we just generate it. And it will have figured out the altitude to fly at, absolutely everything. It will also come back with all the meteorological reports for the live weather. So there's your route. So you could drop that in. You can export this from SimBrief as a PLN file as well, and then load that straight into the simulator. So if you wanted to then go and look at this in detail, if you went to view the PDF of that, you get an operational flight plan that's just like the ones in the real aircraft. So you've got your weights here, look for your fuel to fuel it up. you've got the where you should be at each waypoint in terms of altitude and all the rest of it. If you scroll all the way down, you get all the notices to airmen about things along the way on the route. There's tons of it, look. And then you get all the meteorological reports along the way. So the weather, the winds aloft at different altitudes. You get a cross section through the route. It's great, isn't it? But yeah, you can take that out of SimBrief and then slot that into the EFB and then load that into the aeroplane. If you wanted it, you know, to have a proper looking route. I'm not sure if the Xbox can load a SimBrief plan. You probably can through a roundabout route. I need to go and reload my plan because this makes no sense now. So no, let's do that. There we go. We're almost there. So we might get this crazy handover between the different areas in a moment. So I'm just thinking what you could do is if you go to planner.flightsimulator.com and you can you load it from SimBrief in here? No, but you could paste in your route from SimBrief into there, which will give you the same route. So let's try it. Oh, I closed the browser, didn't I? Oh, I closed the tab. Oh, it's still here. So if you look down here, there's the actual text version of the route.
SimRate 2. SimRate 0.5.
Whoops, slowed it right down.
SimRate 1.
So I can cancel IFR request. Oh no, I didn't mean to do
Vienna
that.
Center Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu requesting vector to next waypoint.
Yeah, I'm already on it.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu, turn left heading 135, proceed on course.
Cancel IFR. Acknowledge. Cancel.
Turn left heading 135, proceed on course Cessna India Alpha
I'm
Zulu.
doing things too quickly.
Vienna Center Cessna India Alpha Zulu would like to cancel IFR.
Cessna India Alpha Zulu IFR flight plan is canceled. Radar service terminated. Squawk 7000. Maintain VFR.
I don't think he will do the final retune of the transponder. No. So we need to come in here, go to code and type in 7000. Come back out. So we're up. We've got our own decisions to make now about flying in, so it becomes very simple for us now. So we can close that dialogue. We're just looking for the final marker when we get near to how do you pronounce that place? Heidovskina, is it? Sorry, I can get back to this now. So you've got your route in SimBrief, you can copy it. Then you can come in the flight planner and you can delete what's in here and paste what we've just taken from SimBrief, and it will magically appear. Oh, it's got some of the waypoints wrong. So you may have to go and fix things. So Sondo is in here somewhere and it doesn't know about it. So that first, the first part of it didn't understand, but the rest of it did. It got one of the waypoints wrong. So then you could, I'm thinking of the Xbox story, you could save this flight plan, and that's saving it in the simulator, and then you can load it into the EFB, as long as you do it on the ground. So having saved it here, within the simulator, if you open the tablet, that button should be active if you're on the ground, and it will load the things that are saved in the simulator, and planner.flightsimulator.com is in the simulator world, if that makes sense. So I haven't tried it, but it's worth a go, isn't it? I will not lose 25% for dropping IFR because I was told to. If you drop it when you're not told to, that would be a problem. So, we probably don't need that anymore. We do need this to give us a bit of a help. So we are not IFR anymore, so we could deviate if we wanted to and fly down into the valley. So if we fly down to, I'm just looking for a waypoint. I wonder if PQ409, the ones with numbers on tend to not be in the bigger databases. They're like local. We'll try it. Or we go for the... We'll be going out of our way if we go all the way down to the VOR, won't we? Or we just cross over further to the east here. So we go to Canning, maybe. If we were to do that, then we only get one crossover. So we want to turn left to 100 degrees. So we go heading mode. Remember, we've got the wind to deal with. Well, we're going with the wind though, basically. We just need to be a bit careful about these mountains, because look how high these peaks are. So, has that caused us any grief in doing that? All I'm doing is avoiding going in and out of airspaces, so we stay then. Although it didn't... Did it cross over into Italy? I can't remember. So it's just asking us now to tell the destination airport when we get there.
Simrate 2.
So let's speed this up.
4. Simrate 2.
It's got quite a lot going on in its head at the moment, hasn't it? It's struggling to do the autopilot and draw all the scenery, and that's why. Hoping we're high enough. These hills, mountains. Although little nav maps, the trouble is little nav map can be a false guide with this sort of stuff, because it's following a very specific route. That, you know, alongside us by 500 feet, it could be there's suddenly a massive green spike. So we're going to turn to 160 degrees in a moment, but we'll have a crosswind, so we probably want 165, even 170 to hold the line. So we're just coming over the border. We're about to hit Canning.
Simrate 1.
Let the aeroplane stop swaying. It will calm down, hopefully, and we're about to come past Canning, and then we turn right to about 165, 170 degrees. We'll try 165 to begin with. All we're doing here is staying in the airspace on the way down. Just cutting that corner off. I don't think the sim seems to be jumping between airspaces, which is odd. Because I have had it do that to me. Should we see if we speed it up, if it will stop it wobbling?
Sim rate 4.
It's quite comical, isn't it? So we can start descending. There's no hills anywhere near us. So we're going to go and bring the altitude down to 10,000 feet to begin with. So pull the throttle back in descent to stop ourselves from overspeeding. You never want to get too close to the barber pole on the speed, because if the wind changes it could be a disaster.
Sim rate 2.
Again, we need to be careful. I'm looking at the synthetic vision here. There are hills right underneath those clouds. Look, they poke through now and again.
10,000 feet.
Okay. So yeah, notice I said that we weren't sure how much of an angle we'd need to counter the wind. The wind has calmed right down. So I have got the yaw damper on, but I don't think it'll make a great deal of difference. I've just turned it off, and it's still wobbling. So, what's the altitude? So 1,200 meters. So if we multiply that by 3, you've got 3,600 feet, haven't you? But it's actually quite a bit higher than that. So you're probably looking about, if we can drop to 5,000, by the time we get there, so let's try it. Or I'll go for 6,000 just to give ourselves some margin. So vertical speed again. I've left the throttle as it was, or not the throttle, the power lever. So we're coming down at 1,000 feet a minute.
Sim rate 4.
So you can see our original route. We're about to rejoin it. Hang on, I need to go get the door.
Sim rate 1.
Right, I'm back. Okay, so we'll see what instructions they give us when we get a little bit closer. We are 7 miles out. I'll just leave it on sim rate 1. We're on sim rate 1, aren't we? Yeah. So we're not speeding it up at the moment. So we'll go and press enter to contact the arrival airport and see what happens.
Lima Juliet, Alpha Juliet, traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha, Zulu 7 miles, north 8,000. Fort inbound to land runway 19er.
So what you can do Let's go and look on here. And it will tell you where final is. There. So coming in this side. So it is the route we said. So you don't need the visual cues on the screen. Final is out here somewhere, about where the arrow is. So as long as we do this sort of loop in, we'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is turn out over the valley. We're within 1,000 feet, that's why it was flashing, of our target, which was 6. So let's go and find out the altitude of the airport. 381 feet. So we can come down to 1,600 feet now. So we'll go and change our altitude then down to, I'll go to 2,000 to begin with. And we'll tell the airplane to come down even more steeply. Pull the power back even further. There we go. So we stabilised the speed in the descent at 1,500 feet a minute. So you can see that's us, and there's the airport over there. So how much room have we got? Not a lot. So we're going to turn left. Go east. Whoops. Yeah, we may end up circling. We'll see. In fact, what we might do is just circle here rather than, we're going to have to do this visually to get below this cloud, I think, rather than play with instruments. So let's go and turn the autopilot off. And I'm going to turn right initially. I'm looking at the synthetic display. And we'll come back towards the autopilot. Hasn't come off, has it? It has now. That was interesting. So I'm hoping we can dip through this mist and then rejoin the direction we wanted to be going. Yeah, we can see the ground. Look, it's just a fog layer. So if we just circle as we descend. We're going to be facing the airport in a moment. So I'm going to press Shift Space, Alt 8. Should be able to see the runway in a minute. So we're going to turn left. We're doing this a lot more. We're giving ourselves much more time than we would have had otherwise. So lose some speed. Put the landing lights on. those flaps really do give you a kick of lift. There's the runway.
Lima Juliet Alpha Juliet traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha, Zulu 2 miles east 1100. Ford inbound to land runway 19er.
I'm going to sit down in my seat, reset this and then sit up, which means I can then see over the nose. It's a bit of a trick. I think it's a bit bugged. It had an extra step in there that shouldn't have been there.
Lima Juliet Alpha Juliet traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is on final runway 19er to land.
We have got reverses, but we've got miles, look. We don't need to use them. Or reverse pitch, I should say. So we need to look for the box now for hold short. I'm not sure where it is. There it is. So that's the only visual reference it does give you if you turn the visual cues off. So we can go and turn the landing lights off. We can pull the and they're going to make some park
Lima
over there.
Juliet Alpha Juliet traffic Cessna Foxtrot. Golf India Alpha Zulu is taxiing to parking.
I'm going to go slowly, it's bumpy. And it's downhill, I think, which is way. Is no way. Is there a? Is that a Falcon or something, or is it? Surely they don't land on grass, do they? There's another one. You don't expect to see business jets parked on the grass, do you?
Glad we've arrived.
So we can use Control-Shift-E to shut the engine down, or we can just cut the fuel. So we did pretty good. Something about the condition of the airplane, probably when we were in speeded up mode, it was probably thrown around too much. So let's see what that means in terms of money. So it was about 400 and something thousand, wasn't it? Yeah, we've almost tripled, oh, more than tripled it. So 1.3 million on one flight. So it was, oh no, it was 532. So we've nearly tripled it, 2.5 times. There we go. So it's given me 1.5 million to play with. I guess the trick now is I could save the money up, do a couple of flights like that, save the money up, buy another Caravan and crew it. So what you can do, if you've not seen this in the companies, if you go look at your fleet of aeroplanes, you can see my Cessna that I originally had, I turned crew on for it. That means while I'm flying, someone else is flying, a pretend person is flying the Cessna. I haven't investigated it yet to see how much they earn. I'm guessing they're only going to get the book rate. They're not going to get all the bonuses that you get for flying it yourself. So yeah, as someone's pointed out in the chat, Darned Ghost has said about the bad weather bonus. It's definitely worth flying in bad weather. Take the risk. Yes, you might write your plane off, but if you land, you get all the money in the world. And they're credits, they're not pounds or even dollars or whatever. They are just credits. So there you go. There we go. That was an end-to-end Caravan flight, and we earned nearly 1.5 million credits in the one flight. So yeah, I think I'm just reading the comments there. Cameron is saying he thinks that maybe the crewed flights you only get like one per day, but then what lunatic pilot would do several flights of this length in one day? You can't speed the real world up, can you? So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. So that was an end-to-end of doing a Caravan flight and operating it pretty accurately. There's a few things we didn't do in the cockpit, but only because the simulator doesn't check them, so we missed like a few light procedures and things like that. And obviously there was the issue, and it's with the sim really, about once we got above 6,000 feet leaving the UK, or it might even be 5,000 feet, some areas up north, we would have been through the transition altitude and should have had really standard barometric pressure right the way across Europe at the altitude we were flying at. I did see the sim crash last night. I hit the midnight bug. I was flying a mission at about 11:45. I think I took off, got to midnight, and the sim unexpectedly went wrong. I did the same mission 20 minutes later and it was fine. So there is definitely a bug as the sim crosses midnight. I don't know if it's midnight locally that causes it or UTC that causes it. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And as I wrote in the comments, I doubt I'm going to be live streaming too many of these trips, because once you've seen one, you've seen them all. It's literally just that procedure of speeding the plane up where you can, as much as you can given the hardware you've got, and then slowing it down to respond to ATC and trying to react as swiftly as you can. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. I'll see you all again soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.